Hello, welcome back. This is Jeff Byers, ANY 150, and this is Module 3, and we are on modeling our battle axe. And we just finished the top part of the battle axe, and so now we're going to start working on the handle. That shouldn't be too difficult, so we're going to probably go through a couple different techniques to get the handle to look good. Alright, let's go ahead and get started, and let's go ahead and delete by type history. And we're going to go under poly modeling up here on the shelf and then delete the history on that icon. Okay. And this is what we have so far. So let's kind of look at and see if we see any pinching. And we definitely want to see that blade all the way across. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that and double click on that edge all the way. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to hold the shift key down, double click on that edge. And that should go all the way. Okay, there we go. So you can see that goes all the way around. Okay, we want to harden that edge. The rest of it looks pretty good. So we're just going to kind of fix these little things here. I'm going to hold down the space bar and go to Mesh Display and then go to Harden Edge. Okay. One more edge I really want to harden is right here. I'm going to double click on that edge. Okay. And then I'm going to double click on this edge right here. Okay, I want this to be a very hard edge. So I'm going to go ahead and hold down the space bar and go to Mesh Display and Harden Edge. Okay. Alright, so now when I click on that, you can see we have a nice hard edge right there, and that looks great. And then we have that hard edge where we see that blade, which is really awesome. That looks really nice. So that's really turning out nice. Really happy with that. Not crazy about this, but I know we have to have a center for this part all the way around. So again, I'm not too crazy. That looks like a super honed area. I suppose I could go in here with the edge and double click on it, hit the Q key. Let's see if we can just move that out a little bit. Now, the problem with moving that out, unfortunately, it selects the thing all the way around. So I don't want to do that. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and get rid of the stuff we don't want. So you can see that I think we start off okay, but then it starts going in. So what I want to do is I just want to get rid of basically everything on the outside. Let's go to the front view here. You can see that. Everything from this point on. So I'm going to go ahead and hold the control key down and just kind of deselect that. And then we want to deselect all of these right here, all the way down like that. And we only want to leave the inside pieces, so I'm going to go ahead and deselect those. So let's take a look at what we have now. So now you can see we just have these, okay, parts right here. Okay. So what we can do is we can just move them. Let's hit the arrow key, or excuse me, the move key and just the red arrow, and just move it so they flatten out. Let's go to the front view and you can see what I'm talking about here. Let's get a little bit closer here. You can see that we've got just kind of get those just lined up, and I think that's the best we're going to be able to do right now. I think that's fine. And these guys right here are kind of a little bit janky maybe on here, just those three, and let's do these three as well. See if I got the right ones. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to scale those out a little bit. It's just with the yellow, scale them out just a little bit. Okay. I might want to just, the scale tool is kind of weird. It's a little bit jumpy. So I'm just going to select these one at a time here at the Q key and just move these down by hand just a little bit. There we go. That looks good. And do the same thing with these guys up here. Just kind of select these, move it up just a little bit. There we go. Just to flatten those out a little bit more. Alright, so I think that looks better. Yep. Okay, so what I want to do though is these need to be softened. You can see there's like faceting right there on most of those major edges, so I need to harden those edges. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on this. Let's see here. I think those are hard edges. We just need to soften these. Let's go on the inside here. Let me try this. So on the inside, I'm going to go ahead to edge. I'm going to just select a thin strip right there, and I want those to be soft. Okay, I need to soften those edges. I don't really want this edge to be softened or anything else. So I'm going to deselect, hold down the control key and kind of deselect these. I'm going to deselect these. Okay, there we go. And go up to the top and do the same thing for those. Just kind of got to be careful. I'm going to deselect this one and this one, but the rest we want to be soft all the way inside there. Alright, everything's okay here except maybe right here we want, yeah, we want that edge to be hardened edge, so I'm going to get rid of that. And anything else, maybe on the bottom. Yeah, we want these edges to be hard, so let's go ahead and get rid of those. Okay, I think we're ready. So now I'm going to go hold down the spacebar, go to Mesh Display, go to Soften Edge. So we're going to soften those edges. When I click off, that looks good. So you can see those are all soft all the way down to the point and up on here as well. And I'm going to look for anything on the inside as well. I don't see anything in here or on the top or the bottom. Okay, so now we're ready, believe it or not, to move on to the handle. So let's go ahead and turn on the X reference, and now we're ready to move forward. Now that we got all that done, let's go ahead and do a save file, save scene as X4. Okay, I'm not quite ready to mirror it over yet because I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to clean it up anymore. And if I mirror it over, then I've got to cut it in half again, and if I change anything. So I'm just kind of think about this as I create the rest of this, the handle. Okay, so we basically have to start from the top, and we've got this piece of wood that's in there, and it's jammed in there really tight, and they probably had to slam a sledgehammer into it to tighten it up on around the top of it. So let's just start with a cylinder. That's probably the easiest way to do this, but this time we're not going to start with 20, we're going to start with 10. So this will make it a little easier for us. Now the thing is we're not able to cross that. So let's go to 12 on that. There we go. So now we have a cross. We can go ahead and change some things in here. So that'll work out pretty good. Alright, so what I'm going to do, first thing is from the top view, let's go ahead and select all the vertices like this on the top, like that. Hold down the Shift key and select those, just like that. So we got 4 selected. If I hit the 4 key, you can see those 4 are selected. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to scale those in, like that. Scale those in like that, and then scale them out like this. Okay? I'm going to take these guys like this, and I'm going to scale those in. Whoops. Let's go this way. Select these guys over here, like that. And I'm going to scale them in, kind of the same distance we had right here. Okay, and then scale those out. Alright, cool. Let's take a look at what we have. So that looks pretty good. Okay, we only want to do that to the bottom half of this. So you can see that we're going to go from a round object to a square object. So that's exactly how I'm going to actually do this. It's a little trick of mine. So I'm going to go in here, and we're going to extrude this, or just cut this, and we're only going to do the top. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this works out. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go in here, and we're going to insert a couple edge loops in this object. Okay, so with that said, we're going to go in here and let's do one right about here. Okay, right about here, and then another one right about here. Okay, so we're going to do the same exact thing that I just showed you. Okay, and I'm going to go to the top view here, and I'm going to hit the Q key. I'm going to click on this guy right here and go back into Vertex. So I'm going to select these again. Okay, right, and then we're going to go to the side view and then deselect. Okay, then we're going to deselect these. Okay, we're going to keep those two up there. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and scale that, scale those in like we did before. Okay, don't worry about what we're leaving behind there. Scale them in like that, and move them out like that. Okay, and then we're going to take these guys right here. Okay, hold the Shift key to get the other ones. Okay, now we're going to go to the side view again, and we're going to go ahead and make sure that we deselect these guys down here. Okay. All right. I think we're doing that. We're doing that right. Yeah, I think we're doing that. Yep, we are. Okay, that's good. And so now we're going to do the same thing. Whoops, I keep hitting that. Right, and we're going to go in here, and we're going to go and scale those in. Okay. And scale those in, and then scale those out like that. Okay, perfect. So now you can see we've got a round object now at the top. We should have done this reverse, but we'll rotate it around. There's some things I can do here. But that's the idea around this. Alright, so let's go ahead and do that. I did exactly the opposite of what I wanted to do. Let's go ahead and rotate this. Okay, rotate that around. That'll be 180 degrees, so negative 180, right? And enter. Okay, and then we want to rotate this so it is square, so it's rotated like that, and that'll be negative 45 degrees. Negative 45. There we go. So we look from the top, we got a square right here. Now I'm going to take the top vertices and I'm going to move those up, okay, like that. And I'm going to take these, I'm going to move them down like that, so you can see that this is what we have so far. Okay, and it's way too big, obviously, and there's some things we need to do, but let's go ahead and go to the top here and see. Let's go ahead and match it up first. Okay, so that's awful wide. And it's off to the side. It's off to the side a little bit. Yeah, it's off to the side a little bit. We got a lot of distortion right here. So I'm going to scale this down, the whole thing. So go into object mode, right? And scale it down. The whole thing. Scale it down to something right about there, because that's the width of the piece of wood right there. That's the width right there. And then let's go ahead and move this up into this piece right here, and we're going to pop it up just above our blade. Okay, so we got our blade right here, and we want, because we actually worked on this pretty hard, we actually want to show it. We want to show it popping up to make it look a little more realistic. So we're going to pop it up above that piece there, because we spent so much time on it. And since that piece is okay, now we're going to work on getting this set up. So let's go ahead and select these vertices here. It's kind of separated from that, and we're gonna go ahead and then scale this. I'm gonna go into my scale and reset it to world. There we go. So what I did was I was in object scale and I want to go into world, so I'm going to double click on my scale tool over here on the left hand side and just go from object, which is kind of cockeyed, to world. Okay, I can do that. And I'm going to go ahead and first of all scale this down this way so it fits up into here, and then scale this down this way so it fits into this piece right through here. It's okay if it has a little bit of a gap. Okay, that's okay. And we can move it around if we need to, just to move it. And I'm going to go ahead and scale this, hit the R key and scale that in just so it just touches the inside of there. Okay. Now it's not going to match up perfectly, but get it as close as you can. Okay. Alright, perfect. And we'll take a look at it and see how it looks. Alright. That looks pretty close to probably how they actually had to do this. And so I'm going to move this up, right? So this now, my computer's running super slow with Camtasia on. Kind of a pain in the butt. Let's move these up like this. Okay. And then I'm going to move this up like that. Okay, something like that. There we go. Something like that. And that works pretty good. I think that looks pretty good. There we go. You can see that we got that looking pretty good. Awesome. And let's go ahead, and the only thing I need to do is go in here and go right click over it and go to edges and just select all the edges, and except for the top. So I'm going to hold down the control key and double click on that, but everything else, okay, is going to be smooth. Now I may not need to smooth these, so I'm going to go ahead and delete those. Okay, everything else though, make sure it's all selected. There we go. Everything else, and except for the bottom, right, and the sides here, unfortunately. So let's go ahead and take that off. Those and these. Okay. And these don't need to be smooth. All this needs to be nice, that hard edge here. Okay, so you're learning a lot of new techniques here. Whoops. Alright, so how do we want to do this? We want to go ahead and go in here to Mesh Display and go to Soften Edge. There we go. So now we got something that looks like that. Okay, looks good. And we can, again, tweak this as we go along. And I'm going to double check this. Still looks a little bit big. I don't know why, but it does. That part just looks big to me. And it looks big over here. So I'm going to go in here one more time, and it just seems large to me. I'm a little worried about that. So I'm going to scale that down again. Just all uniformly scale it, right? Okay. Okay, I think that's okay. And then I'm going to take the bottom and move it down all the way. There we go. All the way down. There we go, to the length. And let's go ahead and take a look at it one more time. Okay, that looks pretty good. I could probably bring it down farther, but I think that looks okay, because we're gonna create that piece right here that goes around. That decorative piece, and it's also got a little bit of a hook there. So let's go ahead and do that one. So that's going to be next, and it's rounded, so that'll work out real good, I think. It starts off rounded, and then it has to kind of get flat. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and cut this in half so we can mirror it over when we're completely finished. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of extrude this down. And so I'm going to go to the front view and just cut half of this off. Make sure you save your work before you go any further. So save your work, and let's go ahead and take off half of this, like so. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and extrude. We're going to go from the edge here, and we're going to extrude this edge down and around. We're going to go ahead and, before we do that, let's go ahead and just click on this as a selection and just do Control 1. Control 1. That will give me a hide selection, make it easier for me to start working on this. So I'm going to just select those faces and only those faces. Hit the 4 key, just kind of make sure you look and make sure everything's looking good. And we're going to go to the side view and we're going to start creating that surface. So let's go ahead and Control E. Alright, and you can see how it starts to move down, and it's not perfectly centered, so I'm not going to be too worried about it. So I'm going to go hit the W key and just move that down. Okay, and like that. Alright, so as I move down, I'm going to go ahead and just select these right here, and I want to make sure I don't select anything in there. And I'm going to stair step this as we go down until we get to the flat part right here. It's a little more flat. Okay, I'm going to move this out too as well. Let's go ahead and select this guy right here and just move him. Let's go ahead and just spread him out like this a little bit, like that. I'm going to follow that piece of wood. So I'm going to spread it out a little bit more. I'm not too worried about how that looks right now, or how this looks. Okay. Alright, so let's go ahead and move that out like that. Good, I'm not too worried about this. Okay, alright. And alright, that looks pretty good. And then we're going to go in here and select these faces right here. And when extrude, Control E, and hit the W key, move that down, move that out. Okay, that looks pretty good. And we'll scale this out a little bit, like that again. And I'm going to select this one right here. And we're just kind of stair-stepping it our way into that shape. I know it sounds kind of silly, but that's what we're doing. Alright, so that's selected. Make sure you don't have anything selected in here. Deselect that. And let's Control E, move that down. Okay. So far so good. And move that down a little bit more. Now I'm going to go Control 1 again and see how we're doing with this. Okay, the shape of it. That looks pretty good. We're kind of going outside there. We're going to move that out a little bit. You can see that I've got everything's lining up pretty good. And I'm going to go ahead and scale that a little bit like that. And we'll finesse this. I'm going to start making this a little bit flatter now. So I'm going to move these vertices in here. And just move them in. Like that until it touches that part right there. I'm going to move these in until it touches that part right here. And the same thing with this. We're kind of flattening this out a little bit like that. We're kind of following that edge. There we go. And let's see with this. Looks like we have an edge here. Move that out a little bit. Again, I'm just tweaking this out, flattening things out that need to be flattened out. Just flattening things out a little bit. Sometimes they're flared up I think I flared them out too far. I'm just making sure I don't select anything from the back. There you go. Looks good. Alright. Hitting the 5 key again. Alright, that looks pretty good. Just trying to flatten things out just a little bit. I'm going to rotate this, that, and move this in a little bit. There we go. Okay, that's looking better. Okay, so now I'm going to take these faces here, like that, and I'm going to go ahead and select this real quick. So I'm going to control 1 again. A lot of this is just patiently moving things around. Alright, so then I'm going to go into face mode and just select those this time. And I'm going to go control 1 again just to see where we're going with this. And I'm going to do control E and then W and move it down. Now that we got it flat, now we can start getting the shape that we want. Okay, so I'm going to start with this. I'm going to move this up a little bit. And I'm going to go into selection mode, that mode right there. And you can see we're finally at a point where we can kind of start getting that shaped in. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do control 1. Okay. And I'm going to start getting that shape. Alright, so I'm going to go into the vertex mode and I'm going to move this up. Okay. I'm going to go into the vertex mode. I'm going to move this up. You can start seeing that just kind of shaping it out. And I'm going to take this guy right here and I'm going to move that in a little bit like that so we can get that. I'm going to move this in a little bit like that so we can get a nice straight edge. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to move this in. Okay, so we can get that nice line all the way down. I'm going to do this thing. Same thing with this. Again, we have to be careful how it looks from the outside, right? So I'm going to select these again and just look from the front view and move it back and kind of line it up. And I'm going to select this guy right here, do the same thing, and kind of from the front view, kind of line it up like that. There we go. Again, being careful. Okay, and we're going to move that up, and we're going to move that in, like that, so you can get that. You can start seeing that it's starting to, you know, look a little bit better. Okay, there we go. And that's kind of wonky. And that looks. Okay, let me go back with that. Somehow that got twisted. So I'm going to rotate that like that a little bit more. Okay. And I'm going to move that in a little bit like that. And maybe move this out a little bit like that. So I'll get that. Alright, so we kind of get that shape that we're looking for right here. And we're going to move these in like that. And I can always snap those in later. Just moving vertices around from the front view. There we go. And move these over too, like that. Alright. Okay, so the whole idea is that we're going around that piece of wood. Let's go ahead and do control 1 again. Whoops. Selection, control 1. Whoops. This one, control 1. There we go. And I think I'm going to move this vertex in a little bit. It seems kind of thick. There we go. Hit the 3 key. Okay, so we're kind of moving that around. Alright, so 1 key. And you just got to move these vertices around till you get them just the way you want them. Bring that down a little bit, move that up a little bit, like that. Okay. Alright, so now let's go ahead and get this brought out a little bit. Kind of give it that kind of, let's bring that in a little bit. Okay, so now we're getting that shape. Now we can move, we can kind of scale and move that down. Now we're into the part that's the hardest. Go into that, and we can see that we've got this piece over here. And I'm going to go ahead and just move all of this in a little bit. Like that. And that looks pretty good. Move this in a little bit. I'm just shaping this now. Okay. All right. Alright, so I'm going to go into face mode and select these faces and extrude these down. Okay, so now we're on the home stretch with this thing. So Control E and hit the W key and move it down. Go ahead and move this all the way down like that. And take this guy over here and just move that in like that. Alright, so face mode again. Okay. Alright, so face mode. And that vertex is messed up. So let's move that in a little bit. Kind of flatten that out. Move this out a little bit. We want to make that flush on here. Looks good. Let's go back to face mode. Those will select again. I'm going to isolate this real quick again. Just make sure we're not making any mistakes in the back here. Alright. Alright, so go back into face mode. And let's go to the front view. And we're going to make this shape here. Control E and then move it. And go ahead and move those vertices over like that. Face mode again. And we're going to do Control E and move. And we'll go all the way down like that. And right, move these over to get that point. And then face mode again. Okay, looks good. And then Control E. Whoops, Control E. And then we'll move these in. You could probably move about halfway down, like that. And then move these in like that. Okay, and then face mode again. Alright, looks pretty good so far. And Control E, and we'll go ahead and finish this off like that. Okay. Alright. That looks pretty good, I think. Okay. And we can always look at how this is all panning out here, and if we need to rotate things or move things, we sure can. That seems a little thick. Smooth that in a little bit. And you can always move things and rotate things if you need to. Rotate, meaning like this, if you want to. If you need to do that, feel free. Again, I get to a point where I usually hit the 3 key, and that helps me with modeling. And you can see how it's shaping. Okay, how it's being shaped. You can go in here and just kind of mess around with the shape of the object, and with the 3. You can also rotate, just see how things are laying, and then move them. I like to do this in the 3 because that's what you're seeing as a smooth preview. And a lot of times I'll scale things, rotate things, just to kind of see what it looks like, how it will look and work, and even the placement of it. Okay, that actually looks pretty good. I mean, it looks kind of soft here at the bottom. We haven't added edge loops or anything to it, so I think that looks pretty good. And let's go ahead and do Control 1, get everything on here, and see how that looks. We got a couple of things going on here that needs to be taken care of. Looks like that's kind of going in. So I will pull that out a little bit. Alright, looks like there's something going on here. So let me go back out here, Control 1, and it's this thing that I was messing with that. And now it's really jacked up. So I'm going to rotate it back around and move it out. I'm going to Control 1 again, make sure that's set up right. There we go. Okay. Alright. Okay, that looks pretty good. I like that. Okay, everything's... It just takes time to get it all shaped right. And now we're going to go ahead and go into this part, and we're going to get rid of all these faces here. So I'm going to go into selection mode, and I'm going to go to control 1, and I'm going to fix some of these crazy things that happened here. Like this. I'm not exactly sure what's happening here. Alright, so I'm going to go in here to face mode and select all the faces here. And delete them. So I'm just going to hit the delete key. Alright, so here we go. So the delete key. So we want those deleted. And then what we're going to do is we are going to go into the next video. Now, one last thing we're going to do is that select the edges, and let's go in here, and these edges are pretty rough right now. I'm going to go ahead and select those, and just these pieces right here. And let's get all these. Just to soften that up. Let's go to the front view. That's probably the easiest way to do this. And just select those. Right? And deselect anything else. There we go. And I'm going to deselect these two. Hold down the control key and just deselect all that. And I'm going to deselect this edge. The outer edge. Okay, and we don't want those selected because we want those to be hard edges right here. We want these to be hard edges, but we don't want the other pieces to have hard edges. So what we're going to do, let's get those selected. Not too worried about that. Probably can get that later. But we're going to go ahead and hold down the spacebar and go to mesh display and go to soften edge. There we go. And so that looks a lot better. Still some pieces we probably need to tweak out. I see that is a mess right there. So you just have to be careful and move things around when you need to and get that looking nice. There we go. That looks better. Just takes time. And then what we're going to do now for the bottom piece, and I believe that's pointed. Okay, so we're probably going to have to merge those together and get them very, very close together. But let's see where we're at with that. I might have to move these in. Alright, let's see here what would be a good idea. Let's moving these in probably like that. That'll probably work. And then let's see where we're at with this. Alright, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop right here and go to File and save the scene. Because we're going way over. I think we're at like 40 or 50 minutes now, so I'm going to go ahead and stop. And let's go do... okay, let's go ahead and go to part 4. And then we'll go ahead and do the leather straps. Let's mirror that over, see how that looks, and then start with the straps, and then when we're done with the straps, we're good to go. Alright, I'll see you in the next video.